It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We don't have Andy here to say his traditional top of the morning to you on Saturday mornings. So and normally it's Pete and I, and we will start off by just saying, hey, isn't it great that Andy isn't here? But I don't even have Pete here. I've got Rob and Kyle here. So we get to do whatever we want.
Oh, man. It's like the parents are away and they left us $20 for pizza.
Exactly. But it's still a sat mat. So there's some things that we have to do. But yeah, you guys were guests a couple months ago, I want to say, before the Marvel movie Minute Hulk, got going, but it's great to have you guys here on the sat mat.
Oh, so late. Usually we're first thing in the morning.
Well, no, this is Saturday morning, guys. It's Saturday morning.
I guess Saturday matinee.
It's a matinee.
Yeah,
we're recording very early on a Saturday morning.
Oh, you make me get up this early on a Saturday morning because it's Saturday matinee, and of course I knew the name of the show that I was on.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I was just testing you, Steve, and now I know that you've passed my test. So I officially grant you title of guest host. You're welcome.
It is. I don't usually. It's usually Pete's running the thing, or Andy and I would occasionally have the opportunity to abscond with the keys to the kingdom. But this is my first time. I got my big boy podcasting pants on.
You're running the big board?
I don't know. I'm doing something with the big board. I'm pushing the buttons. I hope everything's.
For God's sakes, man! Pretend like you're in charge. We don't know what we're doing over here.
Okay. Well, we can start. We'll start talking about news. How about that?
That's
we can start talking about all the stuff that's been happening in the world out there, and the first one that it seems like everybody wants to talk about this Hamilton thing. Are you guys Hamilton fans?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm not quite yet. Because I haven't seen it, and even though I've listened to the soundtrack and I somewhat enjoyed it, I'm a big musical theater buff, and I don't get the music until I've seen it. Actually acted out.
So I'm just enjoying the fact that I won't have to watch my bootleg 100 more times. I can actually watch the legit.
Well, I was going to say, Rob, music, goes into your ears, and that's how you enjoy that.
No,
it's an auditory thing.
No, I when it comes to musical theater, I need to have the connection between the visual and the audio,
and that's why you love the Cats movie so much.
I actually we weren't supposed to bring that up.
I teed you up.
I did. My daughter enjoyed it. We were thoroughly entertained.
That's fine. Are you not entertained?
That's
come
the
on.
Of the movie, right?
They could have used the buttholes, but whatever.
Yeah.
The buttholes would have made it better, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
But I've had that experience. Yeah, Andy's had that experience when you watch a movie that's, maybe not something you would appreciate on your own, but you've got a family member that's maybe younger, and you just sort of put yourself into their place and watch it with them, and you appreciate it at a different level versus I'm a crotchety old man movie critic, and I'm going to watch this movie and I'm going to hate on it. You're just like, no, I'm going to let my inner kid out, and I'm going to just have fun with this ridiculous romp. Sure, you're allowed to do that.
So let me just add to this. Just know this. Kyle already knows this. The last 2 weekends in a row, here's the movies that I've introduced my 17-year-old daughter to.
Oh, yes.
Not in any particular order. Animal House and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
All right.
Yeah. He's working on the Inappropriate Father-Daughter Film Festival.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where my wife just gets to sit there on the couch and go.
Next up, audition. Maybe Old Boy. Huh?
Okay. Let's just pace ourselves. We're going to get there. Just not yet. Anyway.
All right. No,
so Hamilton, yes, this is a big deal. Huge awesome deal.
So you're the musical theater person. Yeah, see, I'm excited because this is what I'd always hoped for, that they would do this thing where it's the original cast on Broadway. It's not like a movie, translation of it, because I still haven't seen the most recent whatever, Into the Woods. I fell in love with Into the Woods with the whole Bernadette Peters, that version.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to see. Is if everybody talks about how great this original cast is, that's the experience I want to have, and I'm thrilled that I get to have it. And now I get to have it a whole year early, because it was supposed to be next year sometime, and now it's Disney Plus on July 3rd.
I know it's one of those things where, as a movie fan, you get anxious. You hear about a thing and you like one thing, but this made me quadruply anxious because I know how long ago they filmed this. So it's you've had it. Like, it's just been sitting in a vault. Yes. Like, I understand ticket sales and touring casts and all this stuff, but like, to know it's this isn't the day the clown cried. I mean, this is it's sitting. It's sitting there. Like, there's a DVD, there's a Blu-ray just burned somewhere in the Disney vault. You can just play it. So this makes me very happy that we don't have to wait another year beyond where we were before.
I think what Disney did is they sort of did their whole like analysis of like, okay, what's our box office potential? How do we offset this? Well, if we put the Hamilton thing out on Disney Plus, subscriptions are going to go through the roof because people that aren't Star Wars fans, people that aren't Marvel fans, that are Hamilton fans, they're going to sign up and pay their whatever a month. They would probably pay $20 a month to get that chance to see their Hamilton. So I think Disney said, let's make sure we even out this year, and we'll throw it on the Disney Plus, and I will get
realize there. What's the only thing in our company that's making money right now?
Yes.
All right. Merch and Disney Plus. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things that have been in the vault for a while, and in the Disney vault, no less, for at least a year, we're going to talk about, well, does it finally get a release date? New Mutants, which was originally supposed to be released in 2018.
What's the last thing you remember, Danny? He said we had to run.
This story came out, and it says, New Mutants has a release date, and I posted it and said, but does it? Right. Is it really coming? I mean, like, I've been so excited about this since I first heard about it when they first started filming it in 2016?
Yeah.
Like, I've been following this story. It's the little movie that can't get released. It just it just bounces around. I feel so bad. I just wish they would do the thing they did with Trolls World Tour and Invisible Man and put it out for $20 for pay-per-view or put it on Hulu or all the streaming ways they can put it out there. Just, for God's sakes, just release it. Like,
yes.
So I got a bad feeling, man. August is going to come and go.
Well, and it's the anticipation factor now of everybody's been waiting so long, and I don't know that there's a lot of hype around it, but there's just this anticipation, and then it leads to rumors about why, first it was, it got sort of lost in the shuffle of the Disney takeover of Fox, and then it was, well, is Disney going to want to be associated with this? So are they holding it back so they can Disney-fy it a little bit? Is it too dark? Is it too intense? And they're going to lighten it up, but the director said no, he was completing his version of this. So now it's, is Disney going to really be associated with something, this really
because it's
dark?
R. It's an
yes.
R horror movie.
Yes. I mean, but in Discord, I think JJ posted a link to a satirical article that said the X-Men fans, young and old alike, were treated to a surprise this week when the cast of New Mutants reunited on Zoom to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the film still not being released.
Oh, that's what it feels like sometimes. And this must be quadruply frustrating for them. Because it's I can't wait till they'd have to do press and they'd be like, what? When was this?
When was this?
Was I still shooting Game of Thrones when this was filmed? Like,
oh my gosh! Yes,
right. Like the Night King was still alive when they were shooting this.
It's the equivalent of it's like the film version of vaporware. It's just rumored to be out
right?
there. Is it ever going to show up?
One of my friends referred to it as the Chinese democracy of movies for all GNR fans out there.
Well, this is a movie, though, that obviously has just fallen in the crack of the uncertainty about movie theaters in general, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, and this is that one, whether it's this or Artemis Fowl, as Disney starts to look at their schedule and says, okay, where do we cut losses? Where do we try to pump up the Disney Plus numbers?
Right.
There must be, it seems odd because this seems like something that is perfect for an early release on Disney Plus.
Well, but it's an
right?
R. Well, it's an R movie.
Because there's no.
And also, you'll notice there are no X-Men movies on Disney Plus as well, even though technically they own that and they can put it out too. We've talked about this on Road to Infinity a number of times too. Like, it seems that the next step for Disney Plus is to put an age gate and to have the rest of those things, because the fact they got the fantastic streaming service, they have all the Die Hard movies, they have all the Alien movies, and no place to put them.
Is nobody seriously just thinking, okay, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be called Walt's Closet. you have to do right, left, select when you're in the Disney Plus app. It slides in from the side, and then you just put all those rated R stuff in there, and like you use this as like your tentpole, like, oh, look, to celebrate the opening of the closet, right? Like, what would that do to Disney Plus numbers?
Just hold up your Apple TV remote and say "Higatus Figatus," and then all of a sudden it opens up and there's all this other stuff there. It's a QR code, and you have to tie your phone to it and you scan it through the Disney Plus app.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, Disney does own Hulu, and so that's where I'm thinking that's their outlet right there is Hulu. You can, because Hulu's got everything in there, and it seems like Hulu at least has been branching out with original content, all of that. They've got their this series with Nick Offerman, Devs, which is like FX on Hulu. So there's lots of potential for just finding the right way to get it out there. And I think that would create enough distance from the Disney brand. Because I know that's the thing is like Disney doesn't want to, be affiliated with Die Hard and, all that, those darker materials. But why not do it on Hulu? You can bundle that whole package together when you subscribe. So they're getting your money one way or another.
Oh, I love it. That's a great idea. Yeah. Just like have a, like you have FX on Hulu, you have Fox on Hulu, and you put all that stuff there. Drive sales into subscription.
There we go. Yeah, they just need to listen to us. They need to listen to the show. We can solve all their problems for how to manage all their different properties, and we can help them maximize their profits.
Solve. You're welcome.
Walt's Closet. Yes.
I do like Walt's Closet. That's
You find an old DVD copy of True Lies in the bottom of the closet, and you're like, look what we got here.
Right next to Song of the South, right there. There you go. I'm not as much of a fan of the Star Wars prequels as some of you may be.
Well,
so
let's throw it to Rob Cabasco, our resident Star Wars expert.
So maybe you can illuminate me, you can educate me on this one, because I think I've seen. I saw the first two in the theater, the third one, on DVD or rental or something like that. And I think I may have seen Phantom Menace twice, but it's just not a trilogy I've gone back to. So my memory is a little hazy about what, this whole article is about the prequels and all this. So maybe you can sort of enlighten me as to why this is news.
Well, it's news. Because right now, Dave Filoni is the golden standard in terms of current Star Wars just charm. I mean, I think that he's it. Like he really is. I mean, well, let's just not get into that. But I mean, he could definitely be given the keys, and nobody, I don't think, would complain about that. So, you've got that. And then he was basically just trying to, I don't think it was that he was trying to pump up the prequels. I think he was genuinely trying to say, look, this is something about the prequels that has really driven me as not just a fan, but as just this incredible curator of the stories. So his whole point was that, the whole
before you get into that, let's say where this came from. So on Disney Plus, because I was talking about Disney Plus, there was a transition there. We just forgot to make it. They're doing a behind the scenes thing about the Mandalorian. Mandalorian's their biggest hit, and so they're doing a 6-part behind the scenes thing, and they're releasing it weekly, which we've talked about in the past. Is a smart strategy. And so in this thing, they had a roundtable of all the directors, which never happens on a television thing. So all the directors getting together. And in the process of this conversation, it sort of like came to Dave, and he started talking about how he saw Anakin's journey in the prequels. So back to you, Rob.
Oh yeah, and well, no, thank you. And then the whole crux of this for him is in episode 1 is the Duel of the Fates, which is this fight between where is Anakin going to lead, where is he going to end up? And you've got obviously Darth Maul representing the dark side and the fall that represents. You've got Obi-Wan representing the current Jedi Council and everything that the good and bad that comes with that. And then you got Qui-Gon, who is sort of ahead of the game, as he put it, where he's looking already past into the future of where this is going. And I would say, that kind of ties into some of the themes that you saw maybe in Last Jedi with Luke's portrayal and a few other things.
Qui-Gon is different than the rest of the Jedi, and you get that in the movie. And Qui-Gon is fighting because he knows he's the father that Anakin needs. Because Qui-Gon hasn't given up on the fact that Jedi are supposed to actually care and love, and that's not a bad thing. The rest of the Jedi are so detached, and they've become so political that they've really lost their way. And Yoda starts to see that in the second film. But Qui-Gon is ahead of them all. and that's why he's not part of the council. So he's fighting for Anakin, and that's why it's the duel of the fates. It's the fate of this child. And depending on how this fight goes, Anakin his life is gonna be dramatically different.
Is he right? Yeah, I think it actually, he's very passionate about it, clearly. I think it's a great way to kind of up the stock of episode 1. You can't up the stock of episode 2. Episode 2 is it's unwatchable. On new viewings, it's unwatchable.
Yes.
That's just me saying that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so if you're interested, it's on Disney Plus. It's it's part of the service and stuff too. And and so he's so passionate about that. All the other directors sort of step back and just let him have it. And they almost play his entire. It's almost like a TED talk about Star Wars, where he breaks it down. And it's almost like he gave almost more thought to it than the people who made the prequel. I mean, wow,
Lucas did.
He's feeling this on a spiritual level. Like he understands. He's like seeing this all out. And yeah, it's pretty impressive.
So it may merit then a rewatch. I mean, I remember that's one of the few moments I remember. I mean, that's the cool badass Jedi stuff that I remember out of Phantom Menace was, that duel of the fates. There was some of the earlier stuff where they, where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are, where we really see like Jedis at the height of their power, where they're just like force blast and stuff, and they're using their lightsabers to like carve through steel doors. That was stuff that I was so excited about. And then there was the rest of the movie.
Yes.
So
luckily that exciting start, the lightsaber stuff, that's what Dave Filoni really likes. And so
and I do appreciate, I mean, I like that analysis of looking at what each of these characters represent. I mean, that's the type of analysis I bring to watching the film. So I appreciate the fact that there is something there. There are themes there. There's a seed of the larger story there, which is whether or not that's purposeful or if it just is sort of like one of those, it sort of happened, but now we can see how that's why it works. I love moments like that. Yeah. So Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Disney Plus. Just as a small side note, do you know Joss Whedon's anti-feminism theory of Die Hard? This just made me think of it too, because this is like, we're talking about like, is it there or is something in there? So his thing is, he's like, Die Hard as a Christmas movie, sure, that's a valid take. As a redefining action movie, sure, all these things. But his thing is, if you look at it, it is a way of a husband getting his wife back, because systematically throughout the movie, John McClane destroys everything that's keeping Holly from taking him back. He destroys her job. He destroys her homework. I mean, and by the final end, what is the last thing he does? The watch that she was given by her, he removes the watch, and that's the last thing. And then they're together at the end. So it's sort of like, okay. Yeah. But I think what it comes down to is good movies can be interpreted in multiple ways.
There we go.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
One more thing about Disney Plus, and then I promise people we'll stop talking about Disney. The Disney announced on Disney Plus they're going to do a 6-part behind the scenes about Frozen 2. Which is super exciting because they usually get like a 30-minute behind the scenes as a bonus feature on the Blu-ray, and that's it. The fact that they're actually going this deep into the behind the scenes stuff is pretty rare for them in animation. So that's very exciting to me.
So the question I have is, because I sort of skimmed through the article and I thought, is this a 6-part explanation of why it was really hard to do this movie and maybe why some fans didn't like it as much as the first one? Because we're going to show you how much of a struggle it was to bring this movie to screens. Because I watched it, I just didn't connect with it, but I was watching it on the TV. I saw the first one in the theater. I did not see the second one in the theater, and so that's often one thing. My kids were much younger when the first one came out. They are now, 19 and 17. So Frozen 2 is sort of like, not high on their radar. So we just didn't have that energy. And so for me, it was sort of a meh experience. So
I have a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old.
So you're right in the zone.
I'm right in the zone. So we went there, and it was like, to them, it was their Avengers Endgame.
Oh, wow.
Because I mean, I tell you, in that theater, opening weekend was like a religious experience. I mean, because like everybody in that theater was so into it and like responding huge whenever characters would say something. There's a moment where Olaf turns to the audience and says, "Oh, and you've gotten older too," in one of the songs, and there's just like this from the audience that says this, there's a giant looking out at you. Saying that it's like, I mean, it really was. So there is obviously in the demographic, but there also is something to be seen about seeing movies in theaters, which I hope we get to do again one day.
It's good that there's nothing bad that happens to him in that movie.
Okay, so spoiler alert. We were Rob had.
I wasn't going there.
No, I was going to say spoiler alert for those of you who hadn't seen it. So Rob and I had seen it, and I was before we were actually recording Marvel Movie Minute that night, and in one of the breaks, I was telling him about like, oh man, this movie is really something. Like they really changed a bunch of the rules. He's like, oh yeah, come on, what does Olaf die? Like went.
Oh.
What? And then, like the next day, I think you went to see it.
Well, no, and I did. And do you remember I told you I saw it? I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was far superior to the first one. And I did think that they took some risks, I think, with the story, and it's what they were doing. The music is not as catchy. Like, no one's remembering any of the songs from it and stuff, except for that Chicago 80s.
Oh, my gosh.
That was amazing.
I had to sing those songs every night before I put my 6-year-old to bed for like 4 weeks. So don't tell me they're not memorable.
I hear you.
Well, speaking of getting back into theaters, we've been sort of tracking the trajectory of AMC on the sat mats and looking at, are they open? Are they closed? Are they bankrupt? Are they in a fight with Universal? What's going on?
Popcorn now?
Right, exactly. But now it looks like, and this is very, very interesting when it comes to timing, that AMC could possibly be purchased by Amazon. And that's interesting. But what makes it really intriguing is the fact that there's this really, really old, law on the books that studios couldn't own their own theaters and just exclusively show their movies in their theaters. But that there's been movement to get rid of that. And so now with Jeff Bezos possibly being able to really put his content in his theaters exclusively at his prices, this adds a whole new dimension to that aspect of studio ownership of theaters. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out, in terms of what theaters are going to do to recover from this, because my own local chain here, well, our local chain, you guys are here in Arizona, Harkins, is as far as I know, they should be fine. They'll bounce back. They think they got a great fan base here. Support local. They do a great job. But a lot of the other national chains, I don't know what they're going to do to recover from this. And AMC, this may be the shift that now our other studios going to start looking to see if there are other chains that are maybe hurting a little financially, and maybe, suddenly Sony or Universal, Paramount start acquiring their own chains.
It's interesting that these companies who sort of have become known as monoliths swallowing.
Yes.
AMC had a relentless hunger through the 2000s. They were just eating up chains left and right. And then I sort of compare them to Diamond Comics, because Diamond Comics was doing the same thing, like just making sure like we are the dominant force, we are the number one, and then all of a sudden the business changes, and suddenly you find that ship can't turn quite as fast as you thought it could, and so they find themselves struggling. I don't know. It's not karma exactly, but I think they're finding that finding a new way to pivot in this strange new world is not quite as easy out there. I really thought it was going to be Disney. I thought Disney was going to be the one to write a check and basically say, and now these are exclusive Disney theaters. You can only see Disney movies at our theaters. Going back to the 30s,
right?
When it was you had to go to a Warner Brothers theater to see a Warner Brothers movie. But yeah, Amazon, it doesn't surprise me. They always are looking for something else to buy. Bezos got those billions.
Well, one, Jeff Bezos has all the money at this point. So this makes sense. And if you look at it from a economic standpoint, these are things, you don't want the movie theater, you don't want any of the movie theater companies to simply go up, belly up. So I think in terms of the legislation that keeps that from happening, I bet you there'll be some changes to that. If they have a buyer and they're willing to do it, they'll figure it out. Yeah. And you could make the case. The case is already there. Cell phone companies don't only allow calls on their networks. You know what I mean? There's precedents all over this to make that happen. I think the real surprising thing is that what it does, you're already seeing this happen. Kyle and I have been talking in the last week or two about the whole Universal spat that came about, where you've already seen these theater chains that are like, okay, well then you're going to do this. We're not going to show your movies anymore. Okay. It's this fragmentation of the distribution model we're probably, unfortunately, not just because of what's happening with technology, but the whole pandemic system is going to just accelerate certain things that I think were inevitable and that were going to happen. And for Amazon, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. This is I mean, I don't want to, this is a whole conversation in itself. We're ultimately headed towards a 3-company world. The 3 companies are Amazon, Google, and Apple. Really? I mean, there's all the rumors that have been going on over the last month.
A 4-company world, then Disney being the other one.
Well,
okay. You're saying, all right.
Because I was just going to lead into this.
You're looking Blade Runner, Dave.
With Disney's future in the short term so questionable that there's rumors about Apple buying Disney for years.
Yeah.
And Apple's got a ton of cash. Like you could totally see that happening. What happens from this? Who knows? I mean, it's going to change. I think in the next 24 months, things are going to change dramatically.
Well, we saw with Trolls World Tour coming on, which I'm sure they talked about here on Saturday.
Oh, yes.
But now we're going to see here. Actually, by the time you're listening to this, another bombshell will have dropped, and that's Scoob. Because it's another major, it's still family, so studio release coming direct to home, but this time for sale for $25 as opposed to renting Trolls for $20. So it's sort of like, okay, so are people willing to pay a premium price, because that's more expensive than any movie on iTunes right now, even the Star Wars movies. Will they be willing to pay that to have access to it earlier? Or are they willing to, sit and wait for it to come to rental and that kind of thing? I mean, right now they're testing it out with kids movies. We saw a little bit with The Hunt and with Bloodshot, I guess, but like, just if they'd done this with Black Widow, what would have happened? I mean, like you're still cutting. You're not gonna hit that $1 billion box office, but it's a way of being able to people making some money off of the thing you already have finished.
Yeah, and with Scoob, my first reaction is always like, really? But then I remember, and I can't remember how many years ago I read this article, and it said that Scooby-Doo is one of the characters that is internationally recognized. It's like, why? I remember, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, like you'd go into a Blockbuster and you'd just see like direct-to-video, like Scooby-Doo, just in the kids section. Like, who is still cranking these things out? Who is still watching it? Everybody. All across the world. It's one of the most recognized characters in the world. And I thought, okay, smart move to, if you can't put it in the theaters, release it digitally, sell it, because there's a huge market for Scoob.
A friend of mine just tweeted me today, Playmobil just got the license to both Back to the Future and Scooby-Doo.
And they look really good.
And they look fantastic. And I mean, Scooby-Doo, like, right? Like, what is that? No, a whole line with the Mystery Machine and all the characters and ghosts and everything. So
there's some things from my childhood that I thought would not last, and that there's so many things that have disappeared into the hazy memories of the late 20th century. But Scooby-Doo is here for generations. It's amazing.
It's doing its part because it's teaching people that when there's a huge problem going on, chances are it's a really greedy person manipulating the system to try and get something for themselves.
That is true.
It's a great life lesson.
All right, we should probably get into these trailers.
Oh, okay. Do we have to?
Yeah, we got to talk about some trailers.
I don't mind trailers, but whew, wow, it is sparse pickings these days.
It is very sparse pickings, and for my trailer, as I did my search, this popped up, and I thought, this is familiar, and I can't place it. I went back through my notes from all the past Satmats, because I swear we talked about this, or this was a short film a number of years ago, so maybe like there was a Stranger Things conversation we had, but my trailer is for a film called Yes, God, Yes, which was based on a short film directed by Karen Main. She's a writer-director of the feature now of this version, an expanded version of it, and it is a story of, it's set way back in, AOL days, sort of dial up, but after an AOL chat turns racy, a Catholic teenager in the early 2000s discovers masturbating and struggles to suppress her new urges in the face of internal damnation. So
We've all
Anybody
been there.
all the Satmat listeners know this is right in my wheelhouse. If it's about teenagers, I'm going to be picking this movie.
Oh, teenagers. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, right.
No, Steve, let me just tell you something. I'm going to add a spoke to that wheel.
Okay.
Not only do I have a 17-year-old daughter, I work for the Catholic Church. So let me tell you,
This is right there.
this whole lady birdification of our family culture. Yes, I'm
Yes.
on board.
So, Alice, how would you describe your relationship with Jesus?
Welcome. You've got mail.
Fine.
Just fine?
So this is starring Natalia Dyer, who, everybody will recognize from Stranger Things. She was also in the short, and the short is currently available out there on YouTube. So we're going to put a link to that in the show notes. It's about 11 minutes long, but this is just one of these coming of age stories that's got some comic elements to it. This is something that, probably not going to watch with my daughters because it would be the most awkward and uncomfortable experience that I can think of. It's something that I will encourage them to watch on their own, just like Booksmart. Nothing I'm going to be comfortable watching with them, but go and enjoy it yourself. I will enjoy it separate from you. Right now, the release date is set for March 8th. So clearly this is one that has, suffered from the whole closure of everything. But this one got picked up. It was at South by Southwest in 2019. Currently it's got a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on, 10 reviews. But it's got a 6.1 based on 268 ratings on IMDb. So as Pete says, usually that 6-star point tells you there's a 50-50 chance that it's not going to be too bad. But as it started out as a short, it's still a short feature because I see it has a runtime of 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Ooh.
So
wow.
For me, that's sort of the ideal. Yeah, that's probably going straight to streaming because, although if they could pack the theaters, you run that thing. I mean, that's like, what?
Oh,
You could fit 3 or 4 end games in there,
That's right.
I mean, you can fit 3 or 4 of those into an end game. Yes, exactly. But what did you guys think about this one?
I got saved vibes from it.
Oh, yes.
Number
wow.
saved.
Going back. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the thing. And it took me a while to figure out where the actress was from. And then it was like, oh, Stranger Things. That's right. That's where she's from. So I'm always pleased when television people are getting feature work.
Yes.
So that's always a good thing. But yeah, it's interesting. And I also my one of my favorite things is female-led comedies because there are so few of them out there that you get to, and it's not about being the object that people are running, that dudes are trying to get or whatever.
Right. Yes.
So there's one shot of the handsome dude with his hair to the side, but that is not what the movie is about.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
She is not defined by the dudes, pursuing her or anything like that. So yes. Yeah, and Rob, well, clearly this is, you own this one more than I do, apparently.
I got to tell you, did I say that I work for the Catholic Church and that I watched Walk Hard with my daughter? Did I?
Yeah, I believe so.
All on the same podcast?
Yeah. Oh, it's recorded. Oh, yeah.
No, you can tell where I have a whole world view of everything like this. I thought this was incredibly charming. Because I think. Any kind of institution, not just the church. I mean, any institution, whether they're religious or otherwise, we kind of run this sort of gamut between the dark view, which is all the horrible things that clearly we know about. And then this, which it seemed to say, okay, look, it seems like it's a very positive coming of age film that's within the confines of an institution like Lady Bird. I mean, that's what I thought. Lady Bird was fantastic in doing that. And I thought it looked really great. And I love when you can already get this sensibility with me, even when I teach classes, right? I love movies that address the real nature of humanity, right? Yes, all the dark and the grimy part of it. And especially when you're at that age, I just thought this looked great. And Natalie Dyer's awesome. I mean, love her in Stranger Things. I totally am looking forward to seeing this.
And the priest, is he from Veep?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought this
Yes.
was right, so, okay.
Yes, that's my 6 degrees of separation connection to this because I saw that. I go, I know that dude. He was in Veep. He's married to a woman who my brother went to high school with. So I'm like,
okay.
I can leapfrog my way to this movie to Stranger Things. So I got my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon without Kevin Bacon going on. All right. Next up. Oh, Rob.
Tell us. I'm embarrassed. Because here's the deal. We're slim pickings right now, everybody. Yeah. And this morning, this was the story that I saw breaking a whole bunch of different places. This crazy movie called Unhinged, starring Russell Crowe, which is nothing more than the 2020 version of Falling Down, right? Like, I mean,
is it though?
Well, okay. Touche.
You know what a courtesy tap is, young man? Sounds like this. It's light. It's friendly. Sure, that's what your mom meant to do.
No, it's not. Mom!
Having a kind of a hard time lately. I'm sorry. Accept my apology?
What do you want?
I need you to learn what a bad day really is. And I need you to learn how to say you're sorry. And you're gonna learn through violence and retribution.
I mean, first of all, Russell Crowe, come on, right? Because this seems like, I mean, first of all, a movie of the times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But unintended. I mean, I can't think they could have expected it to be in these times, right?
Right.
And I think movies like this, even okay, Kyle's gonna eye roll me on this. Even if you wanted to talk about a movie like a Joker and say, okay, how does it interface with when you're coming of age during these types of times? How does it help you understand what is truly going on in people's minds when they are on the cusp of becoming unhinged, right? Not to use this title that way, but there it is. So anyway, it's interesting. Is this going to be a good movie? No, of course not. It's going to be horrible. No. And honestly, I mean, seriously, I had nothing else. And it was the talk on all my blogs and my news things I saw this morning. It's just a movie about a guy who just obviously he's lost his family. I mean, you already get this from the trailer, right? He's lost something. He's recently divorced. The people went into witness protection. I don't know what happened, right? He's clearly upset. This woman isn't very polite to him. He loses his mind. And then he just goes on. He becomes the substitute. And like, I don't know. That's a weird movie reference, The Substitute, if you ever.
That was a franchise, wasn't it?
Yes, unfortunately it was.
Treat Williams. We got everybody on board for that. No, like, I don't know. It's just so ridiculous. And I feel bad for Russell Crowe. Sorry. This doesn't seem like a movie that he should be making.
I say this is the price we pay for all of the Les Mis memes. He took it hard. He took it so hard.
You know what? You've heard. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, Kyle. I don't know if you've heard this. You know, Les Mis, that movie. Again, okay, little theme here of musical theater. Do you know what that movie could have been so much better? By just doing one thing. Switch Russell Crowe and Sacha Baron Cohen in their roles.
Oh,
yeah.
Russell Crowe would have been an amazing Thénardier. Sacha Baron Cohen would have been an incredible Javert.
Wow.
You just do that, and it would have changed the entire movie.
I don't understand. Russell would have had a lot more fun.
Yeah,
he had he had the body type. He had the performance. It would have been a totally different movie. Anyway. That's all I got.
So we got
this was Rob Fixes Movies.
That could be a segment. We could always do that. We could bring that as a segment. Rob Fixes Movies.
Jingle?
So what I found interesting about this is that I had seen a couple articles because they said the marketing on this movie was basically they were pushing this to be like the first movie you're going to see when you get back in theaters, because I think it's got like an early July release date, and they're hedging their bets that theaters are going to be open and people will be comfortable getting into theaters, and they're going to be on the front lines. The first thing that's going to be available is going to be Unhinged. And you're going to see Russell Crowe being unhinged. And so Falling Down was the one, and then Changing Lanes was the other one that I saw that came up as a comparison as well with the whole road rage type of thing. So yeah, but this just screamed like bad, like straight to video type of thing where I could imagine if it wasn't Russell Crowe, this would be something that I would just see like, I don't know, maybe even like a Lifetime movie or something like that. Because
do you think when this trailer came out that there was an angry call from Nick Cage to his agent, like, why is that not me? Why am I not in that movie?
Yes.
For those of you who are just listening at home, both gentlemen took a drink just as I said that. I almost got a dual spit take out of that.
A little bit.
Oh yeah, so poor. And this is the year we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Gladiator.
Of Gladiator,
and we've got Russell, and it looks like he's the anti-Gladiator. It doesn't think like he hasn't been doing anything. I think he's been sitting in that car just since
Talk about
2000.
Maximus.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Come on,
You know what though?
I'll see myself.
You know what? I guarantee you there is a scene in that movie where he's in his truck and he's fumbling with a little bag and it has little figures of his wife and daughter.
Where does the wheat come in?
I'm just saying.
Is there a lot of wheat? Is there a little bit of wheat?
Oh, there's something. There's some sort of grown product in this, but I don't.
That's the Catholic Church for you, ladies and gents.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, Kyle, tell us about your pick here, because this is one that I hadn't heard of.
Oh, really?
And you said it's slim pickings, but this one intrigued me.
Yeah, I was hoping that it hadn't actually been covered on here because it came out a couple of weeks ago. There's an old meme going around that says, if my future self didn't show up to stop me, how bad a choice could it have been? And so this movie kind of answers that question. It's called James versus His Future Self. It's a Canadian movie. Actually, it has already been out in Canada and did fairly well, and then it was coming out here. It's set to release 2 weeks ago, but I guess that's not happening. So it's out there too. So the basic premise is there's a scientist who's on the verge of inventing time travel when suddenly his older self shows up and says, yeah, you can't do that because everything goes terribly for us. And so the older self is played by Daniel Stern. It's one of my favorite actors and a really great director too. And so it's basically like he inserts himself into his past self's life to try and change the path too. So I think it's an interesting. I'm a big fan of time travel movies, and I also like this idea that there's the future you who knows all the stuff you're going to say and do, and is right there to try and. So he becomes kind of like this guy who's just hanging out in his house all the time. So it's me, so I can't really kick him out. But yeah, it's a low budget Canadian comedy thing, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it makes a splash somewhere.
I just want to talk to you, James.
James! Really? What's your plan, bud?
Ow. Well, hello, sunshine. Welcome back.
What's happening?
I'm going to keep it simple. 12 years from now, you figure out how to send me back in time. I am you from the future. I'm from the future! You're from the future! We not you, me, you. We are from the future!
Okay, that's good.
Okay, I started laughing just now because when you said that, when I saw this trailer, I didn't know anything else about the movie. I watched the trailer and I went, wow, Robert Englund looks amazing.
Daniel Stern has aged so much.
Yeah,
yes,
it's true. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, it happens to all of us.
It does. But this is the genre that's like my Saturday afternoon, late afternoon. I'm looking for something just cheesy sci-fi, light, fun, that knows what it is and is going to just have fun with it. It has just enough sci-fi to give you an interesting story. It's not going to get into the complexities of, the hard science of this. It's just going to have fun with it, but still be a story with heart. That's the part I really liked about this. Looks like it's got that great balance of this. So I'm really hopeful for this one, wherever it shows up, that this is going to be one that I'll love just sort of finding and being like, that's exactly what I needed on my Saturday. And I'll probably give it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, and people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it is what it is, and it does a perfect job of what it needs to be, which is this just low budget, straightforward sci-fi-esque type of twist thing. Yeah.
I hope it comes in right at that safety not guaranteed kind of place.
Yes.
Where it's just low budget, great performances, highly respected. I'm super looking forward to it. I hope it shows up someplace cool.
Yes. Well, that's the sort of the place we're in, where we've got trailers and we don't know where they're going to show up. So for me, I love this because it gives me just sort of ripe pickings for our trailer rewind, because this is the stuff that shows up on streaming and then people are like, is this good or not? And then we'll talk, some of those we'll talk about on our show. So we got some, I'd say for as slim as the pickings were, these are, okay.
No, don't go there. You don't have to.
Okay, Rob. Well, it's
2 out of 3 aren't bad.
2 out of 3 aren't bad. Okay, all right.
No, Unchained it was as trailers go, it gave me everything I needed.
It did. Because it gave you everything. Now you don't even need to see it.
I now don't need to see that movie because I've seen it all from the trailer.
Yes, because there wasn't even enough to say. I don't know. I mean, I guess if I was going to take on the Rob Fixes movie thing, I'd be like, hey, wouldn't this be great if it turned out to be like the sequel to David Fincher's The Game?
Oh. My God, yes.
Where her husband set her up with this road rage thing to teach her a lesson, right?
Oh, man. Okay. Copyright Steve, man.
Dude, we all fix movies. Right? Are you kidding?
Somebody make that movie, because dang.
Maybe it is.
That, oh my God, no, that's unbelievable. Oh, that's totally what it should be.
Yeah.
Let's go make that movie.
Make that movie.
Done.
All right. Okay, well, since we have both of you guys here, and I don't know that all of our listeners of the Satmat are, aware of everything that goes on in the next reel, but since we have the Marvel Movie Minute guys here, I thought we could do a minute-by-minute breakdown of Marvel Movie Minute. So, minute 1 of Marvel Movie Minute 1. Let's spend a couple hours,
we're gonna
right?
Do 114 episodes of commentary right now. Okay,
yes.
Let's start out. We were in the same room. Remember when we could do that?
Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh, back in the days.
We looked at yes, and now, we're making it work.
There's some trivia for you guys. We used to record Marvel Movie Minute Season 2 in the same room, and at some point then we had to change. See if you can figure out where the switch happens.
Ooh.
Audio files, fire up those headphones.
It may or may not have happened yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How about
By the
that?
episodes are released, hasn't happened already?
Right.
Don't know. Well, where are we? Where are we in the saga of season 2?
Let's see. Let's see. What just got? We were in the
minute 45. Minute 45 drops tomorrow.
Yep. We just completed our pizza trilogy. That was pretty exciting.
Yes. Okay.
Let me just tell you something. The show we're so grateful to do the show, and we just love doing it. We hope people, I think we really think that people are enjoying it. It's evolved in its own. And I think every time you get some new hosts, they kind of work it and they figure it out as we go along. The movie, we early on decided, look, is this a perfect movie? No. Is it a perfect MCU movie? No. Okay. But this is about celebrating the MCU, celebrating movie making, and we're going to do the best we can and make it entertaining. Yeah. So that's what we did. That's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to do all into the future on this, no matter how long you'll have us. And it's been great, but we're definitely hitting Monday, I can't promote the minute 46 enough because it begins with us doing a performance.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That really is inspiring. Because the movie gives us a minute that there isn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah, so we had to figure out some clever ways to fill our 12 to 15 minutes, sometimes up to 30 minutes, actually.
See, I just give you guys credit for doing it minute by minute, because I sat in on, Andy and I were on the Mad Max movie minute on Thunderdome, and one of our minutes was watching the wheel of fate turn to see what's going to happen with Max, and then it's like, they're walking in the desert. I'm like, okay. How do we fill a whole show with? I mean, that was 2 episodes. Like Tina Turner spins the wheel. Okay. And then we see where it falls. And I think what we did is to make the best of that, we actually got into the mathematics of how big each of the wedges of the pie were to look at the probability of falling. Because we needed something to talk about.
Oh, believe us, we know.
I give you guys so much credit for, particularly when there's those stretches where you're like, what do you say?
See, just based on that right there, our episode would have been about Wheel of Fortune. We would have talked about how many consecutive episodes Pat Sajak has done it. What does Vanna White do? How often does she wear red?
There you go.
We would have all those numbers. Absolutely, we can figure that out.
And then by about minute 10, we'd have been like, we should probably talk about the Hulk.
Yeah.
Or Mad Max in this case.
Yes.
No, wait, we have had, listen, and I think everyone is used to it now. We've kind of taken that the cold open, or whatever you want to call it, it sometimes has a tangent, and it sometimes goes in awkward, weird places.
Oh, yes.
We have talked about a lot of different things in that, but it always connects. It always makes the minute interesting, and we're doing the best we can, and we're enjoying it. I think we're having a lot of fun.
We're having a lot of fun. So I'm hoping people are coming along. Even if you haven't seen the movie in a while, we hope that we do enough entertainment stuff that you can go, oh, yeah, I kind of remember that.
Well, it's like sitting down. I mean, the thing that I love about this type of podcast, this minute by minute, is it's sort of like the equivalent of like sportscaster, the commentators, so it's like you can watch a basketball game, okay, or soccer, there's guys just, back and forth, but you've got these two guys that are like sitting there alongside you telling you everything about what's going on. So for me, it's like, this is great to like, not just listen to as a podcast, but, load up the movie and just, watch that minute long and like a really weird version of sort of like audio commentary, because you've got 1 minute, but I got to stretch it out over, a whole episode, but to just look along with it and say like, okay, yeah. Or I guess I could watch the movie with your podcast as the commentary if I did it like ×3, ×4 speed. That might get me. That might be an interesting experience. It might make the movie more entertaining.
Wow.
If you were drunk, you'd have to drink a lot.
It's a marathon.
Yeah. Because, I think I was doing the numbers, Kyle. I think I figured out like our episode length actually averages pretty high. It's like about 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah.
You do that 16 minutes across 113 episodes. We have recorded over almost 2,000 minutes.
Wow.
Wow. I love to hear the sound of my own voice, but come on.
This is why you'll see what happens in the next week or so.
All right. Well, we've got something. We've sort of, for those that are in it, they've got something. But even those that haven't, just like you've sort of primed the pump. Like, just jump in at minute 46.
This is actually a pretty good place to jump in.
Oh no, minute 46 is awesome.
If you look at it and go like, oh man, how am I going to listen to these 48? No, just like jump in 44 or whatever, and go forward from there. Because you're not going to believe it. Even next reel is going to be like, what are you doing?
Forging new territory. Love it.
This is the last time we don't give you guys oversight.
Yeah.
It's too late. We're already past it.
All right. Well, the one thing that we still have left to get through is the list. Now, none of us were here last week, so this is the first time this has happened, because usually it's like Pete and I come up with something, but then Andy's there, and so Pete and I, at least Steph, deal with it. Andy will complain like, if I had been there, I would have corrected this, and barrels. Pete and I thought that was funny, and it came back to bite us. But this week, so they're talking about the episode was La Cage aux Folles, and so the list options we had were impressing the in-laws, coming at movies, and hiding sexuality, and we had to come up with a list about impressing the in-laws.
I gotta tell you, this category almost wrecked my marriage.
Oh, really?
Because I sat down with in-laws, and my wife, I said, honey, like, I don't know where to go with this. I mean, like, there's a couple that are sort of low-hanging fruit, and I'm not going to say what I think they are, because they might be on your list, and I don't want to call you out this early. But I was like, I don't know where to go with this. And so we started talking about it, and her thing was like, okay, well then these two characters, they're going to get together in the end. So let's say Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Not on my list. But Will Turner is, very much trying to impress the father. But the thing is, they're not married at the end of that movie. They don't get married until the end of the third movie. So does that count? And she's like, yeah, it counts. I'm like, no, because they're not in-laws at that point. And like, and it just, this kept rolling and rolling and rolling. Like, then it's just like, why are you even asking for my help? You're not going to listen to me. And I'm like, next reel's destroying my life.
Well, it depends on how flexible you are.
She actually came up with some really, really good ideas and stuff too. So I now have a good list once we sort of came to define what that was. But those guys really stuck it to us.
They did, but that's where we have the flexibility. If you come up with your own rules, because believe me, Pete's got some stretchers there, really stretching the rules. But I guess all three of us have done it at one point or another, of saying, well, it sort of goes back to Star Wars from a certain point of view. They are in-laws, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we can all agree. I'm glad this was the category of the categories that we had to work with.
This was the best of 3. But.
Yes, that's true. And then, of course, we have the honor, after we get through our list, of picking our own topics to stick those guys with. So, but okay, so tradition is first trailer gets first pick, so I don't have to worry about steals on my first one. But it's still a short list. I didn't have a whole lot to go off of, but I'm going to stick with my tradition of picking a film that has been talked about on the show. And this is one that hadn't occurred to me, but Kyle's going to object because they aren't in-laws.
No.
So,
it's good. We're good.
But we're all good.
Yeah.
But when it comes to impressing the in-laws, things couldn't get worse than if you happen to be the African-American boyfriend that gets brought home to meet the in-laws in Get Out.
Oh, good call, man.
Jeez,
I like it. Yeah, well, to have it not be throwing shade at your thing, once I listened to the episode and I was really like they're talking about La Cage aux Folles, I was like, oh, they're not married yet either. So then I was like, okay, then all bets are off. So it's good.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good pick, man. That movie messed me up.
Oh yes.
Like for days I would just be sitting there thinking like, man, that Jordan Peele, man, he is onto something.
He is. All right, so Rob, you had the second trailer. You get your first pick here.
So if we get through all of them, I'm going to tell you, all 3 of my films have a multiple thread going through all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
So he's setting the bar up here. I'm just having to get 3 films.
No
He's
idea.
got complex things.
Multiple
it's
threads.
Duel of the Fates. There's a seed planted at the beginning that weaves itself through all of them.
No, this is spectacular. But no, actually, I went with this one. This was a movie that I saw when it came out when I was dating my wife at the time, Joy Luck Club. From 1993.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously a phenomenal movie. It's based on a book by Amy Tan. And if you haven't seen it, please see it because I think it actually resonates even more today. Not just about the story, because there's several threads that deal with in-laws and with marriages and all this, but it's just a phenomenal immigrant story. Immigrants. I mean, just the hardships that people have had to go through to come here and everything that they've tried to do to make the lives of their families better. And it's wonderful. I love the movie. We watch it every couple of years just to remind ourselves how great it is.
That's one I have not seen in a long, long, long time. That's probably definitely worth putting on the list to revisit again because it was 93. So it must have been, probably like 96, 97 was the last time I saw that. Because I think I saw it maybe once or twice back then, way in the...
Probably rented it on video cassette.
Way back in the 1900s, as my kids like to say. Yeah. Okay. Oh, but excellent pick. Definitely one that I had forgotten about. All right. Kyle, the bar is set.
Okay, well, then I'm going to go a little more modern.
Okay.
So meeting the in-laws is pretty tough, but maybe to make things easier, people can just play a game to get to know each other, like maybe hide and seek. My pick is 2019's Ready or Not. On wedding night, they have a very interesting game where the bride gets to meet her new family and gets to tour the house a little bit too. So much closer to Get Out than to Joy Luck Club in this case.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's a steal. That is on my list.
Okay.
Yes, that was number 2 on my list. So I'm gonna have to delve into it. That's one. Okay, speaking of watching with kids, that's what I want to watch with my youngest because she loves horror that's lighter. She doesn't like the real, intense stuff. So this one, I'm like, it's got the little bit of gore to it. It's got a little bit of the suspense, some jump scares, but it's still, it's just ridiculously fun. Like The Hunt. It is just so, I loved seeing this in the theater. So I'm glad you stole it, forcing me to go someplace else on my list. I'm going to have to go into some other, I'm going to have to go into a weird pick. All right. To fill the next one. Okay. Cause this, again, they're not really in-laws in this one, but it's probably a stretch in many, many ways, but it's one that I don't believe has shown up on any list in a long time, but it's a film that I discovered must have been right around the time I was graduating from high school, because I worked at a video store in high school. And so me and a couple of other guys that worked there were always like, what are some great classic movies to discover, all this stuff. And so, when you are a teenager and you discover the great Dustin Hoffman movie, The Graduate. You know, is he trying to impress the in-laws? Well, I guess maybe he's impressing Mrs. Robinson on a regular basis, I assume. I don't know, but it's one that is a different type of relationship with the in-laws, I guess you could say. But it's one that, because Rob stole my second pick, I'm going to go with The Graduate.
Yeah.
Next up, Rob.
My next week. Okay, so I'm going to keep in with my theme. I'm going to tell you what the two themes were at the end. But I know this is an easy pick, and it's a more recent movie, but Crazy Rich Asians. And I know that this straddles the line about in-laws. There's soon to be in-laws. There's a wedding that takes place in the movie, and yes, you've got the whole thing between Harry Golding and Constance Wu, as you know, they're trying to impress the mother, played by Michelle Yeoh. Just a great. We were really impressed. My wife's a huge fan of that book series, and we thought they did a really nice job with it. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and actually specifically with in-laws, especially like impressing what would be assumed to be a future mother-in-law. Yeah. There's a really nice storyline with that has a bit of a twist that is actually really well done. As you get to the end of the movie.
By the time I finally saw it, I kicked myself that it had taken me so long to see it.
Yes.
It was like, oh man, I could have seen this 6 months earlier. What was wrong with me?
Oh, well, Rob's got a solid list going there. Joy Luck Club, Crazy Rich Asians. Where's he going next? We will have to wait and see. But let's see if Kyle steals another one from me.
No, I seriously doubt my next two are going to be
I don't know.
This is where I started getting a little wilder.
Okay.
So taking a road trip can be stressful. Taking a road trip, having your mother-in-law in the car with you can be more stressful. But then having a guy die in front of you telling you where a bunch of money is that you have to go and get before everybody else can make things super stressful. So that's why my pick is it's a mad, 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 mad world. So in one of the plot lines is that Milton Berle, as J. Russell Finch, is driving, and his mother-in-law, Mrs. Marcus, played by Ethel Merman, is with him the whole time. So,
I love that you picked this. It just showed up on the Criterion Channel, and they had but they have the original roadshow. Now they had to reassemble it from lost footage and all of that. Yeah. There's some clips that have been lost. They've got stills, but my wife and I remember seeing this on growing up in the suburbs of Chicago on WGN, the Saturday Night Movie or something, chopped up. So we're thinking, I mean, how long was this thing? How edited down was it? But I was amazed, because this was just, I think 2 weekends ago we watched this, how well this movie holds up. Because I thought it was
really does.
I thought it was going to be the attempts to remake it, like Rat Race and all this, where it's just it's garbage. It's going for easy jokes. This is a really smart, funny, amazing visual effects for the time. Some of the stuff they pull off with practical effects, so much fun. But great pick with you've got Ethel Merman as the mother-in-law.
That's right.
It's right there. They're getting to where it's the big W.
And if any of you out there are still playing the Kevin Bacon game, if you ever want to connect any movie in the 60s, man, this is your gold mine.
Oh, yeah.
This can get you anywhere.
Right. Because with the cast, I mean, you got Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney, everybody's in this.
There's
Phil Silvers. I mean,
Phil Silvers. You even got Jerry Lewis in a very quick cameo appearance, driving over a hat. I mean,
Jonathan Winters.
Jonathan Winters,
knocking down the house.
Yes. Oh my God. Excellent pick.
Nice.
Okay, so you leave me. All right, you left me some space, so I've got my last one. I guess I should say impressing the to-be in-laws is my theme for all three of my movies, because none of them are married. But this is my final pick is one that I think went under the radar. Some people maybe that are really into movies may have heard about it, because it did get a lot of some critical raves about it, but it's just a really solid film that from the cast, you might think it was going to be a comedy, but it is a lot heavier than it is, and that is The Big Sick. Have either of you seen The Big Sick?
Yes.
Oh man, that's a great pick.
Because it's
Ray Romano, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Ray Romano. I mean,
Hunter.
That's so much of the second half of that movie is girlfriend's in the coma and he's dealing with the in-laws, and they think he's garbage because they broke their little girl's heart, and he's trying to redeem that relationship throughout the second half of that movie. And it's just the scenes, so many great scenes with them. And it's one that if you have not seen, go find this movie. It's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you cry. You're going to have a great time with it. That's my final pick. The Big Sick.
And what a great, I just want to add, one of the nicest, and it's not too contrived, even though it could have been, one of the great scenes in that movie is when the parents go to watch him perform.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he gets heckled. And the turn that goes from, okay, no, I'm going to defend him even though we don't like him because now he's ours.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And and it's just a fantastic moment about, if you could just look at everyone like that, it would be a much better world. But anyway, I digress. That's a great pick. Excellent. I
mean, the even better thing is that it's based on the true story of Kumail Nanjiani and his wife. That it's their story. And I mean, of course, a fictionalized account, but rooted in truth, which makes it even more bizarre of like how this is what happens. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, totally.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude my tour of the Asia Pacific countries.
Okay.
And I'm going to go to Taiwan, and I'm going to pick, this is from 1994, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
Oh.
Nice.
Now, the reason why I picked this, well, one, not just because yes, it does complete the Asian theme I had there, but it's also kind of got a twist because it's about this this former chef, Mr. Chu. He's a widower. He's got his 3 daughters, and it's kind of following their experiences with men and the experiences of kind of seeing what their father's approval would be like. So it's kind of reversed. And then there is a twist at the end where, well, it's the whole in-law dynamic, but it's reversed because it turns out that he has a significant other that the daughters don't know about. Hilarity ensues. It's actually a great movie. And it's, if you're a fan of food in cinema, this is one of the greatest movies to see because the close-ups and the shots of the food and the preparation of it and the art and the care, it's just absolutely fantastic. So, I said there were 2 threads. One was the Asian thread. You know what the other thread was? All of these movies, interesting connections to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay. He's bringing A game to this list.
Yeah. I know Ming Na.
So Ming Na won his Joy Luck Club. Belinda May. So we've got her. Mm-hmm. Crazy Rich Asians. You've got Gemma Chan.
Oh, Gemma Chan. That's right.
You've got Michelle Yeoh. But the big one, the score of Crazy Rich Asians is composed by Brian Tyler. Who was the composer of Iron Man 3 and Avengers Age of Ultron. And of course, I'm just going to give him shout out because he also did Bubba Hotep, which is just a spectacular soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, that was directed by Ang Lee.
Oh,
which is a little bit of a cross, but it counts.
It gets there.
It's close.
Well, and you even tied it back into the Hulk, man.
Yes,
did you notice
synergy?
Well,
wow.
I thought this would all. I don't know if the people who are listening are familiar with this, but we actually we co-host, Kyle, a podcast called the Marvel Movie Minute. Have we talked about it? Have we talked about it in this episode? I'm just curious. Okay, never mind.
All right, sir.
I'm out.
All right, Kyle. Bring us home. What you got?
I'm bringing this home. I'm bringing it literally back home because it's to my old stomping grounds, the place where I was born, Sweet Home Chicago. Because I realized that when you say impressing the in-laws, it doesn't necessarily have to mean father-in-law, mother-in-law. So when a family crisis happens and mom and dad have to go out of town, they have to call in their ne'er-do-well brother to come in and help take care of the kids. And of course, I'm referring to a film from one of the greatest people to ever come out of Chicago, Mr. John Hughes, a little film called Uncle Buck.
Nice.
Because he's the brother-in-law, and he does impress them by the end of it.
Technically, you are correct.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes.
Speechless.
Yes,
we are.
That's okay.
I got nothing.
No, wow. That's all solid. That works. Okay.
I did the math. It checks out.
You did the math. Let's check out. He's got the family tree to back it up. All right. The genealogy holds up. All right. So, okay. So for next week, this is the challenge. They're doing a movie.
Oh, do we need to do our alternate picks? The ones we did?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, if you've got, I mean, because
do you have any of them?
well, here, I can tell you, I stayed away from Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers because I figured everybody was going to do that. But no,
yeah, and
Rob's like, I'm going to go all, esoteric, artistic over here. And now that I know that, I would have easily taken those for my list. Any other picks you guys had? Come on, what's another Asian, Marvel connected movie, Rob? Come on.
Rob did mention Monster-in-Law when we were first talking about this.
I was like, I didn't know where to go with that. We've overdosed on Grace and Frankie, from time to time here on Netflix. So that came to mind, but that was it.
My two alternates that I had were about two very revered Oscar winners and also a Star Trek alumni. A little film called Out to Sea, starring Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, who they play brothers-in-law.
Oh.
And then my last one, if it really came down to it, was back in 1993, the hottest comedy star was about to jump ship, but Jeffrey Katzenberg said, "No, I will pay you an obscene amount of money to come make a movie for us." And it happened, and thus the world was granted Pauly Shore in Son-in-Law.
Oh, my God.
Yet another thing to rack up in Jeffrey Katzenberg's great accomplishments at Disney.
That's a movie that got made. It is.
It actually is. It's actors. Film.
There's actors and film. Yes.
And there's credits.
Actual film that got processed and developed. Yes, it is. Wow. Okay.
When does that come to Disney Plus? That's what I want to know.
Gosh. That's in Walt's dumpster. You have to put the code in to get into the closet, and then there's another code, and you go through a trap door, and you're in the dumpster. And you're like,
is that the Eisenberg dumpster?
Yeah.
All right. So next week. So this is the challenge. This is the hole they have dug everybody into, because they're doing movies and they're remakes. And so they're doing The Birdcage. So as I listened to, last week's episode, they sort of already touched on The Birdcage a little bit. And I thought, you're leaving us scraps. You're leaving us nothing here. But we can come up with something, I'm sure. I mean, we've got, birds. We've got cages, we've got buddies, maybe. I don't know what.
There's been a bunch of there's a huge swath in like the late '90s of like French films being remade.
That's their whole. That's their whole series.
Oh, that's the whole series. I mean, like what? I mean, talking about like.
Yes, this is
Nikita and stuff. I mean,
no. It's
that's what I was thinking.
It's an actual French filmmaker that they're doing all his movies and remakes. English remakes.
I'm talking about like Luc Besson over here.
Oh, yeah, well. It's Francis Weber is the series. He wrote La Cage aux Folles that got made into The Birdcage. He did another one that was made into Dinner for Schmucks. So yes, I think it was like Dinner for Idiots or something like that. They got made into Dinner for Schmucks or something. I don't know what the other one, because I don't have that spreadsheet. So we could do French movies and American remakes of them, sure, because this is Francis Weber, and as long as we stay away from his work. Okay, Rob, you had something out there? Did you have an idea you were pitching, or am I?
It is I'm still confused about. I just wrote 3 down. Kyle, you gave me the idea for the first one. Movies where robots eating pizza fall in love.
Okay.
The second one was Elvises eating pizza fall in love.
Okay.
And then the third one was pizzas eating Elvises who fall in love.
There's a theme here. Let me see if I can get what it is.
Is it falling in love? It's falling in love with pizzas and eating them.
How about
forget
Elvis. No, the Elvis thing is not bad. Like movies where Elvis makes an appearance. It doesn't have to be an Elvis.
But is Elvis
not a star?
Is Elvis in The Birdcage? Because we got to connect this to The Birdcage.
To tie it into the.
See, this is I got lost.
Yes.
Gene Hackman, just something with Gene Hackman.
No. So the idea with the list is whatever movie that they're going to be, the episode that drops next week, the list is based on some theme that connects that. So that's why often I go to my
an hour of Steve trying to explain to us the rules and still not getting it. Can we talk about robots?
Sure, we can talk about robots, but the list is what basically, hey, if you like this movie, here's some things
French robots
something that on a related topic. So for example, if you liked La Cage aux Folles and you like that aspect of impressing the in-laws, then clearly, Rob's Marvel Asian food themed list is, something that somebody might enjoy.
Quite appetizing.
Exactly, because the French love their cuisine.
The French do love their cuisine. Movies with
we're talking about the Birdcage. Robin.
Uncomfortable Dinners.
Uncomfortable Dinners. I like that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Comfortable Dinners.
There you go.
Okay, Uncomfortable
Dinners. We got
Dinners.
3, Rob.
Oh,
yeah, we come up with 3. Well, or we go with French movies.
That one's going to win.
French movies remade into American movies. But
terrible ones.
There's
that one look even better.
I mean, heck, it's not as bad as the barrel list that Pete and I came up with people hiding in barrels, and that was.
So again, I was going to say Jaws. No, it's not hiding in barrels.
No, people hiding in barrels. We thought, yeah, that'll be a great list. Yeah, and somebody challenged us to not use any Hobbit movies. So, yeah, exactly. That just took out everybody's list. But I love the uncomfortable dinners. Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. We'll just give
them that.
That
fits into your theme, Rob.
Yeah,
yes.
I like that.
So
Definitely.
Okay. All right. So there is a tradition on SatMat and the list where Pete was always supposed to have a Woody Allen movie on his list because he's such a Woody Allen fan, and there were numerous opportunities for him to have Woody Allen movies, and Andy and I would always be like, okay, we'll stay away from that, and then Pete would finish his list, and we're like, dude, Purple Rose of Cairo or Shadows and Fog, and he's like, and we're like, you're the Woody Allen dude. So I'm just saying, Rob, every time you bring a list, there's got to be a food related movie on your list. That's the thing we're going to expect from you on SatMat is not the whole list, possibly, but just at least one. There's going to have to be a connection to food. I'm just saying.
I can do that.
We like to add some rules to these things.
There we go. Okay. I got that.
All right. So for our birdcage list, we've got uncomfortable dinners.
Uncomfortable dinners. Okay, that's the first one.
How long has it been since you guys seen the birdcage?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I've seen clips of it too. There was a montage thing I just saw of Hank Azaria talking about his roles, and so he talked a lot about how he came up with the voice for his character in Birdcage. Esteban. I'm trying to remember what his character's name was, but they showed a bunch of clips from it that reminded me of that.
So movies with characters with a unique speech.
There you go. Speech impediments or accent. Well,
dialect.
Dialect. Okay.
How about either terrible accents.
Oh, we could just go with terrible accents. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
People just trying really hard and just failing.
Yes. All right.
I had like 3 movies just came to mind instantly, but I don't want to give them away.
That's right.
Make it harder for those guys.
All right. So we need one more. Or we or we just stick with the French movies that were remade in, as American remakes of French movies.
Do we want to define a genre, like to say French action movies, just to make it harder for them, because it is the series that they're doing that?
Oh, we could do French. Okay, American remakes of French.
Was enough of them?
American remakes,
at least 9. I don't know if there've been 9. So that might be harder.
You know what? American remakes of French movies, and then I'll put action in parentheses, and then they can decide how much they want to stick with that. And of course, Andy is the one that posts the lists, so he can edit it. Although I believe, and I think he's up next week, so he may do that'll be at his discretion. Yeah, so it's going to be Andy, Ray, and Tommy will be dealing with these lists, so they can have a discussion. Of course, it's all up to our listeners, viewers, what do we call them? Our supporters that are there in Discord that get to vote on these lists because,
So our patrons are the most important. Then our Discord people are right underneath that. And then the quiet listeners.
Yes.
And then the casual listeners.
The quiet ones. But if you want to vote in next week's list challenge, you just head over to the Show Talk channel in the Next Reel Discord community, and you can lend your vote to the chaos, and you can movie sabotage it each week. I used to do that if it was getting close and I didn't like the way it was going, because the old way the lists were done, you could vote for each of the options, and so I would hedge my bets, and then if it was a tie, then I could just deselect one. The new poll does not allow for that. You get one pick and one pick only.
And I'm totally kidding. I love all the listeners equally. So maybe Patreon's a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah,
you're the firstborns.
Right. Yes. And so to become a patron, they can go to patreon.com/The Next Reel.
I would say nextreel.com/Patreon.
Or nextreel.com/Patreon and become a supporter.
And the link is right there.
It's right there. They can become a supporter for $5 a month. You get to be the concessionaire supporter and get access to live streams that we record, early access in your very own personal podcast feed there through Patreon, and access to super secret member channels in our Next Reel Discord.
So one last push for Marvel Movie Minute, which is a podcast that Rob and I are. So we haven't. Here's inside baseball. So for those of you who are not huge Marvel fans, not huge Hulk fans, but are our podcast fans. We have an ongoing challenge on the show. It's a very quiet challenge, but we have a certain amount of housekeeping that has to be done at the end of every episode. We want to tell people about our Patreon. We want to tell people about our merch. But our thing is, over 113 episodes we're going to do, we don't want to ever repeat a commercial. So every time we talk about one of those things, we do it in a new way. Oh. And boy, are we running out of ideas. So as you get down into the high numbers and in the triple digits, we're really having a hard time coming up with stuff. So watch us sweat as we try on the fly to come up with a new way to tell you about all the wonderful things over at Next Reel.
You know, because you can only do so many. Hey, Kyle, do you like pillows?
I do. Do you know a place I can buy them with my face on them?
Do you like pillows with both our faces on them? Because then that way.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much better.
Because when my wife uses it, she likes to lay on your head and look at mine.
If I went to a website like nextreel.com/merch, would I be able to buy something like that?
Yes, you can.
I love it.
See,
we just burned one.
You did. That was we just call that the pillow talk ad. I love it. There's tons of merch over there with your faces on it. The pillows. The latest thing is the masks. So that, you know, as we say, if you are bold enough to buy the, Patient Zero one with the biohazard symbol on it, feel free to do that. But there's all kinds of great
buy a
merch
mask with our faces on it. It's guaranteed to keep people at least 6 feet away.
If you are sheltered in place, staying at home all alone, get yourself a pillow with Rob and Kyle on it, and you can snuggle with them, and you will not feel alone. And you can get that over at thenextreel.com/merch. That's right.
If you buy a mask, that means your lips will be very close to us all day long.
Kiss me and I'll kiss you back.
Right now, I should just go bye. And we should
drop.
Oh, we could do that.
Bring us home, Steve.
No, don't do that.
It's been a pleasure having you guys, this first time of many on the Sat Mat and contributing to the list and just bringing great trailers and news to talk about. And I have to say my podcast list is pretty packed with lots of stuff, but I am making a calendar appointment for minute 46 here to find out the craziness that's going on because I can't wait to see, knowing what you guys brought to this show. I can't wait to see what happens in minute 46 when that one drops over there. So, hopefully any of our SatMat listeners that did not know about Marvel Movie Minute may have heard you guys mention it like once. So I want to make sure they know that there is a thing called the Marvel Movie Minute, and you guys are breaking down a movie minute by minute, talking about it. What'd you say, about 15 minutes? Talking about 1 minute, over 2,000 minutes roughly, of content you're going to be creating. So
it's not the Saturday matinee where it's a marathon of your patience, and our voices.
It's a quick.
It's quick bites.
And so something that's you know what? It's hilarious that you brought up quick bites because it's something that we did not have in our news because we often mock the Quibi that's out there. And so in place of Quibi, you can get your quick bites of Marvel Movie Minute.
That's right.
15 minutes at a time.
It's free. But if you want to get it early, you can become a Patreon. A patron at Patreon. Is that how it goes?
Patreon at patron at patreon.com/.
And Rob, where would they go to find out more about that?
I believe it's the nextreel.com/Patreon. I mean, why don't we just talk about the Next Reel and Marvel Movie Minute Executive Lounge on Facebook?
Executive Lounge. We have only on Facebook at facebook.com/group/thenextreel. I know all about it. I hang out there. We actually have some really, really cool fans who are listening really closely and picking up stuff that we say and that stuff we missed. It's super fun.
Right. We've got a lot of places for them to go, and that's what we want to do here at the SatMat is tell you about all the cool stuff going on at the Next Reel, the ways that you can support us. So
this is the hub, baby.
This is the hub of all things Next Reel. And so we want to thank you for sharing your Saturday with us. Rob, Kyle.
It's almost lunchtime.
Our pleasure.
Hondo.